Hello everyone, and welcome to my action research presentation. My project was developed as part of my curriculum and design coursework at the American College of Education, with guidance from Dr. Whitaker. The goal was to explore strategies that can help teachers meet the needs of culturally diverse learners through professional reflection and action research. The purpose of my research was to complete an action research study focused on identifying best practices for teachers working with culturally diverse learners. I used a mixed methods design that included both quantitative and qualitative surveys, as well as a qualitative interview with a veteran teacher. Together, these methods allowed me to create a practical guide for novice teachers, grounded in both data and real-world classroom experience. The problem teachers face is ensuring all students are academically challenged while maintaining equity. In culturally diverse classrooms, this balance is particularly important. Culturally responsive teaching emphasizes aligning instructional design, not just to academic needs, but also to the social, emotional, and cultural needs of learners. Scholars such as Ford and Kieran and Anderson highlight that without culturally responsive practices, achievement gaps and inequities persist. My literature review highlighted 4 theoretical foundations. First, the cognitive affective theory suggests that learning is enhanced by motivational tools, such as virtual reality, which engages students both cognitively and emotionally. Second, control value theory emphasizes how scaffolding and chunking help students regulate their learning and emotions, which can be integrated into simulations. Third, universal design for learning supports the least restrictive environment principle by encouraging multimodal instruction, flexible grouping, and visuals that reach all learners. Finally, multiple scholars emphasize that teachers' reflective practices are critical for ensuring equity. Consistently, visuals and teacher reflection appeared as key themes in the literature. In the first stage of my methodology, I set out the research questions that guided my study. The 2 key questions were, how do teachers perceive the best strategies to support culturally diverse classrooms? And which strategies are the most effective in creating equitable classrooms? To explore these questions, I developed a survey that included both Likert scale and open-ended questions. Teachers were asked to share their perceptions of strategies for planning and teaching in diverse classrooms, and to reflect on how those strategies impacted English language learners. The responses were then coded into themes. For example, teachers consistently pointed to collaboration with ESOL staff, the use of visual supports, and equal learning opportunities as critical practices. They also emphasized the importance of professional value systems, intentional instructional design, and the consistent use of scaffolds to support student learning. These themes provided the initial structure for how I approached the rest of my study. The second phase of my methodology combined both quantitative and qualitative research. Using the survey, I gathered numerical ratings through Likert questions and also open-ended narrative responses that revealed deeper teacher insights. To add another layer of understanding, I also included a qualitative interview with open-ended questions. The mixed methods approach was chosen because it allowed me to gather both broad data and personal teacher perspectives. The study focused on English language learners at AZ Elementary, and the findings were summarized in a table that displayed common themes and patterns. From this analysis, one finding stood out clearly. Teachers identified culturally relevant materials and teacher pedagogy as the 2 most impactful elements for supporting students. These results suggested that the combination of intentional instructional design and carefully chosen resources is central to helping diverse learners succeed. The third and final phase of the methodology involved a detailed interview with a veteran teacher who had over 15 years of classroom experience. She was asked to reflect on 3 specific areas: how she enhances appreciation of cultural diversity with her choice of materials, how she uses dialogue to resolve conflict in her classroom, and how she promotes respect for cultural differences among her students. Her answers provided a wealth of practical strategies. For instance, she described designing activities where students shared their cultural traditions through projects, which built both empathy and identity. She emphasized teaching dialogue as a tool for problem-solving and conflict resolution. And she stressed the importance of modeling respect for diversity as a teacher, so students see those values in action every day. These responses were then organized into a guide for novice teachers, using UNESCO's report on learning for the 21st century as a framework. That guide linked her strategies to Delors' 4 pillars of learning: learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. This framework not only grounded her practices in a global vision for education, but also provided a clear set of strategies that can be shared with new teachers. In the results section, I analyzed the interview data using UNESCO's 4 pillars of learning as a model for novice teachers. The first pillar, learning to know, highlights critical thinking, curiosity, and lifelong learning. In practice, this means creating a rigorous curriculum that draws from Bloom's taxonomy, helping students develop deeper understanding and problem-solving skills. The second pillar, learning to do, emphasizes collaboration and teamwork. Teachers described collaborative groups as essential because they prepare students with the life skills they need to work with others and build shared knowledge. The third pillar, learning to live together, is about teaching empathy, cooperation, and intercultural understanding. This connects directly with Vygotsky's theory of social constructivism, where learning happens through dialogue, cultural tools, and peer interactions. Finally, learning to be focuses on reflection, autonomy, and creativity. It reminds us that learning is not only about acquiring content knowledge, but also about personal growth and self-discovery. Overall, this action research confirmed that strategies such as multimodal learning, incorporating visuals, and ongoing professional reflection are crucial to student success. The consistent theme across both survey and interview data is that when teachers integrate these practices, they create equitable and effective classrooms for culturally diverse learners. Building on these results, the analysis shows that classrooms thrive when teachers intentionally integrate the 4 pillars of learning into their practice. Teachers who use multimodal strategies, such as visuals, graphic organizers, and technology tools, provide multiple access points for students to engage with content. Equally important is teacher reflection. When teachers consistently reflect on their own pedagogy, they can recognize biases, adjust instruction, and ensure that lessons are responsive to the needs of all learners. This reflective practice makes culturally responsive teaching more than just a checklist. It becomes an ongoing professional habit. The analysis reinforces that effective strategies are not limited to individual accommodations. Instead, they are whole-group universal supports that raise the level of equity across the classroom. By modeling learning, scaffolding with visuals, and encouraging collaboration, teachers create an environment where diverse learners can succeed together. In conclusion, the findings from this action research point to several interconnected practices that support student success. Teachers who actively model learning show students what persistence and curiosity look like. Authentic projects and artifacts give students opportunities to apply knowledge in meaningful ways. Collaboration and teamwork build not only academic skills, but also social and cultural awareness. Another essential element is classroom climate. A positive and supportive environment helps students feel safe to take risks and engage deeply in their learning. Purposeful use of technology also emerged as a powerful strategy. When used thoughtfully, digital tools expand opportunities for students to express understanding and connect across cultures. The veteran teacher I interviewed consistently emphasized empathy and multicultural learning as central to her practice. These themes align directly with UNESCO's call to prepare learners for a global society where peace, understanding, and cultural appreciation are core values. My final conclusion is that teachers must commit to ongoing reflection and intentional practice. This means actively working to avoid bias and stereotyping, while using scaffolding strategies such as visuals, multimedia supports, and multimodal lessons to ensure access for all students. A consistent finding across both the survey and the interview was that outcomes depend heavily on teachers' perceptions of their students' abilities. When teachers hold high expectations and design instruction that is both rigorous and supportive, students are more likely to thrive. For novice teachers, the most relevant and actionable strategies are to incorporate visuals and multimedia consistently, while also building habits of reflective pedagogy. Together, these strategies create classrooms that are inclusive, equitable, and focused on student growth. In short, culturally responsive teaching is not just about individual accommodations. It is about designing instruction that benefits the entire classroom community and prepares students for lifelong success. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation on my action research.